Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Blizzard Watch podcast. This is the show where we talk about Blizzard Entertainment and its many games, and also sometimes other things, which will be happening this week as well. Besides myself, for sure, we're going to have my amazing co-hosts Liz Harper and Joe Perez here. How are we? We think Corey is going to try and make it, or is he just not able to?
No, he's not this week. There's
a question mark there. So now we know Corey's not here. So you guys won't find out he swears in French really well. I was shocked. I was straight up shocked. I've not seen that word used in weeks, months.
I have a flashback for those of you. I recorded a bonus episode of Lore Watch that is, I don't know when it's going to release or when I'm going to get it to Liz and Dan for release, but it's my original Lore podcast crew from For the Lore. And Roger, who is a long-term friend of mine, is French Canadian. And every time somebody swears in French, I immediately hear it in his voice echoing like through my headphones because it's ingrained, that accent. And yes, if Corey would do that live, I would be very, very pleased and giggle probably uncontrollably for like 20 minutes.
Whereas I can't do it at all, so I'm not going to try. But we have lots of things to talk about. So first up, the Horrific Visions. They're back on the mysterious future day of May 20th, which is technically as we're talking.
Yeah, they're here.
Yeah, they are here.
Yeah.
Horrific Visions are here.
Yes.
Has anyone got to run them yet? Because I have not, because I had to go to the doctor.
I have not yet, but
I actually ran them to a few today. I ran 3 or 4 before podcast or so. Like, I mean, what would you like to know?
How much have they changed? Are they pretty much the same?
So a lot of it is the same. The difference is that you don't have the cloak anymore. So you have a track in which you essentially earn curios. You spend the curios you convert the curios into another currency that you then use to buy talent points on this tree that do things like the cloak used to do, like reduce the amount of sanity you take or give you access to resurrection or the purity orbs, make you take less damage, make you do more damage, things like that. So that's there and replacing it. You can go in with Cyrodiil, which is one of the bronze dragon flights. She makes a construct and goes with you. And they can take on any role very similar to what Bran does in Delves. So it can take a healer, tank, can take that DPS role. The interesting thing about go ahead. I think I know what you're going to say, but go right ahead.
I have a question. I have heard that bringing Sidormi with you actually gives the mobs in there a big buff because it's like you've gone from being 1 player to being 2 players essentially. And what I've heard is that it's actually not worth bringing her because of how much she increases the difficulty. Did you see this in action?
Nope. Not it. Like I brought her along with me on 2 runs with my paladin and noticed absolutely zero difference between whether she was there or whether she's not. So it may very well depend on the person's eye level. So if you are a lower eye level or depending on what class you are and what role you take, there may very well be an element to that because we saw that with Delves with Bran, right? Like when Delves first released, and I complained about this on my shaman, going into a Delve with Bran was just death. Like he could do nothing for me. He might as well just not have been there. But on my paladin, he's fine, right? And I think they fixed his AI and they fixed a bunch of stuff. And I think they may have learned from that because Cyrodiil was fine. Like I had her as a healer, I had her as a tank, and I had her as DPS. As a DPS, she's a rogue. She vanishes and just winds up like disappearing and like coming back and like murderating something for you. Tank actually holds aggro pretty well. I was still able to snap aggro from her, but I'm also in the 660s, so I don't know how that scales with what she's at. And then as a healer, she was perfectly adequate.
Am I the only one who's like, is it just me, or does Dormy end up having to do a lot of the actual work of the Bronze Dragon flight while those Dormers sit around moping about time? And Dormy's like, yeah, is someone going to do? Oh, yes, I have to actually do things. Okay, yeah, sure, why not?
More or less.
I'm not the aspect, but whatever.
Meanwhile, Chromie's in the background, mostly making trouble.
Yeah, but she's
cute. Tries, but that's true. I mean, I accept Chromie for whatever Chromie wants to be and do. But
okay, can you tell
a
us
lot of making trouble?
Can you tell us about the head enchants? What are those up to there?
So the head enchants,
I didn't know those were going to be there.
Yeah, the head enchants are essentially You can get them very early. You just have to earn 10 of the black blood samples, because that's essentially the storyline behind it is that, like everybody predicted from the beginning, the black blood is old god blood. Woo! I cannot see anything they put in game that every single person has gotten right more than that. But you get 10 samples of it. And if you're doing an average quick run, you're going to get about 3, maybe 4 at first as you go through and can defeat some of the sub bosses before defeating Illyria. And you take 10 of those and it unlocks the ability to get you your first head enchant, which are very similar to ones we've seen before, whether it's, the
Infinite Stars one reminded me very much of that armor thing.
Yes. Yeah. And for those of you at home, they do different effects based off of whatever you choose. So like you're essentially putting a rune or head enchant. Like if you saw it last tier during Dragonflight, or 2 tiers ago during Dragonflight, where you got the head enchant and that gave you that buff, whether you're a healer, a DPS, or a tank. That's kind of what these are, except you choose what it is. And it will only work during season 2, I believe. So I don't know. They never mentioned anything about carrying it forward, but it's a little bit of a power bump, and it's a little bit of a borrowed power. But it's warbound. So once you get it on one character, you can send it to others or put it into your bank so that other characters can get it. So you don't have to run the horrific visions on every single toon you have, which I think is really, really nice, because the original one, if you wanted rewards from it, you were running it on all of your toons to get. Here, not so much. Here, you can just pick one and you can just have them be your horrific vision person and go through and just earn all the stuff and then buy what you need and send it to where you need it to go. And then there's also a vendor that gives you gear. So there's 3 tiers of gear. There is essentially the equivalent of LFR normal, heroic, 3 tiers of gear that you can buy with your displaced corrupted mementos, with the highest tier of them being available after you complete what is essentially a 5-key dungeon. So for those of you that don't know the horrific visions or weren't around for the first time, in this particular case, we're going through either Stormwind or Orgrimmar. There is a main person that you have to fight, or a main boss. If you're Alliance, it's Illyria. I forgot who it. I think it's Thrall. Maybe if you are.
It's Thrall.
I haven't done.
Thrall.
I haven't done them in a while, so I apologize. The Horde side, and then there's 4 sub bosses spread throughout the map. And when you start, you can get to one of them when you kill them, or 2 of them. And they're spread in different sections, and they're noted by not having the exaggerated tentacle thing around them on the map. They just look like normal tentacle things around them. You go and kill them, and as you kill them, it unlocks more of the ability to go to the other sub bosses. If you kill all 4 sub bosses and the main boss, that's a 5 thing run, right? Essentially, you get all 5 of them. Then there's also the difficulty thing called masks, and masks is a returning mechanic where you essentially increase your difficulty to earn higher rewards, and the last tier of stuff that you can buy with mementos requires you to do a 5 mask run. So 5 of these things enacted at the same time, whether it's reducing your maximum sanity by 50%, additional ads spawn when you're below 50% of your sanity, whether it's each area consists of 2 different madnesses instead of 1. And I'm sorry, I'm jumping around a little bit around the place. Madnesses are things that afflict you as you're going through it. So as you go to different sections, you'll have a different debuff. It could be something like, it makes you less powerful, you do less damage, take more damage until you stand into a inky black puddle of black blood, and then it powers you up for a few seconds while you go and do the thing. Burning feet, where like your feet will literally just poop out a flame puddle right below you and knock you back, which can be dangerous and can do some pretty decent ticking damage if you don't have damage reduction. Leaden feet, where if you move too much, if you keep moving, you get slower and slower and slower until you basically stop. So one of the masks actually makes 2 of those active at the same time in each section. One that gives vengeance, if you kill a mob, like all other nearby mobs get buffed for a certain period of time, it's 20 seconds. It's
But you killed their friend.
Yeah, more or less. It's this weird intersection between scenario and mythic plus dungeon, which I think is kind of cool. But yes, so that's the short version. I could keep going on about it, but it's fun. I don't know that it's multiplayer content if you can still do it with friends. You used to be able to do it with friends. But it's a nice little in-between thing to earn some rewards. And you can earn mounts and armor and weapons and transmogs. So there's a lot of cool stuff that you can do there. It doesn't take a whole lot of time to go through a horrific vision. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, you can go through a whole 5-stack, maybe a half hour if you're being really, really cautious. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. And it's a nice little
ask one question then.
side grid thing. Yeah, go ahead.
Keys.
You don't need them anymore.
Yeah, I felt like everyone would want to know that. It's actually listed right here, but I felt like I had to just throw it in there.
I had meant to say that and then completely forgot because of there's so much here that if you haven't done them before to like cover. But yeah, you used to have keys to unlock chests to get stuff. You don't need keys anymore. It's just you do the thing, you get the thing. Okay,
the next thing on our list of things to discuss is, well, I don't know if you guys know, PAX had a little preview this week, and there's a lot of people there at PAX who are talking about player housing, and we have learned I'm assuming you wrote this one, Liz, because it feels very much like your phrasing. We have learned a lot and also very little about player housing this week. So let's talk about what we have learned. I was skimming over the article just so I would have things to talk about. And we've definitely got a sign that they're taking that neighborhood thing seriously, although we don't know much about what it's going to do. Liz, do you want to talk about neighborhoods a little? Like
they come with an HOA.
They don't come with. There are no HOAs.
Yeah, that's a lie. I cannot have corpses on my front lawn, Liz.
I'm going to be building so many corpse houses near you, man.
There may be, players enforcing or attempting to enforce rules, but there is not going to be any sort of formal HOA. But you know how emergent gameplay is. Sometimes, even if the game developer doesn't do it, it happens.
Except that we did find out that the neighborhoods are going to be themed, and you can't deviate from that theme. You can do lawn decoration, but if it's Alliance, it's Alliance. If it's Horde, it's Horde, and it's one flavor. Am I wrong about that?
Yeah, we did actually. That is here, I think. Although it doesn't actually say that it's specifically what flavor it's going to be. Go ahead, Liz.
I mean, we did learn that it's like your neighborhood is in a place, so there are locations that are kind of Horde themed. There are locations that are more Alliance themed. So I think your neighborhood is going to kind of be that theme, but we don't see the reason I said we learned a lot and we didn't learn much is that a bunch of creators got hands-on previews.
That just raises further questions sort of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of people got previews, and they were not allowed to share footage from what they were doing, and there were a lot of things they weren't allowed to share. So they got to see things and talk about things, but there's a lot of things they didn't say, and we didn't see any of their creations. We saw them talking a lot about these things, and there were some developer interviews. But yeah, I would say we're mostly getting vibes about player housing right now. We're getting impressions and feelings and descriptions, and we don't have our hands on it. It's players don't have their hands on it. It's not on the PTR. So that's exactly as Matt said. We have more questions now.
Well, I did want to mention that one of the things I thought was really cool, talking about the neighborhoods and how they work and the loading screens and so forth, is that the point you was made in the article that if you have the loading screen, you can basically TARDIS out your house. Like your house can be super huge on the inside and, small on the outside. So if you want to, I personally don't think I'd want to put skulls and corpses and all sorts of horrible stuff on the outside of my house, because like the Addams family once said, you want it to be, you want your home to be horrible, but it's horrible in yours. I don't necessarily want to share my horribleness with people, but I definitely want to have it in my house. If I invite you into my house, I want you to see it.
I want to do the homage to Reindeer Road.
Yeah. I do think that Reindeer Road definitely is something that we should be able to recreate in some way. But the thing about that is you could do it in your house now. You could have that be your house.
Yeah, you can do jumping puzzle stuff, but I've talked a lot, so I'm going to shut up and let Liz go. I'm sorry.
No, I enjoy it when we have multiple voices talking about things and enthusiasm. I think we're all enthusiastic about player housing. So yes, I don't know how much control you're actually going to have over the outside of your house, but inside your house, it sounds you do what you want. You know, you can place things, you can make jumping puzzles and things of that nature. You can place up to 10,000 items in your house, and apparently no one has gotten up to that limit yet. They've done some.
Yeah. The size of the rooms that you can make. Like you can make corridors, you can make rooms estimated to be 800 yards long. That's pretty. That's like you just build a room. That's this is my crazy room.
Did they actually confirm that though? Because when they did the preview, there were when they were interviewing the content creators were interviewing them. And shout out to like folks like Taliesin and Evital. They were saying that there are preset layouts that you can choose from. But they didn't say anything about at least at that time, unless they released something different that said you could have that much space, like 800 yards. You can do a lot with the inside.
One of the estimates that was made by one of the other people, but I don't know which one off the top of my head because it's
Yeah. So there are pre-made houses. Like if you don't want to go in and create a house from scratch, there are going to be pre-made houses that you can work with. So, but it does also sound like, if you want to make your own house, if you want to make a house that is all yours, you can do that. So yes, I also forget which interview this was in, but there was
part of it was the break flip. Some of this comes from the break flip interview, which is in French, guys. So
yeah,
I'm doing my best. You got to do
some work there. You got to do some work there.
It's like, and it's arising with dangerous infants. Okay. I'm going to have to stop and think harder about this, guys. But I promise you, they did talk about it. There's a lot of, stuff in here. Creative liberty, and then I don't know what this one is, but with such excitement. Okay, good. Yeah, I figured that one out. Again, my French, not great. I did not get bilingual when I got up here. You don't automatically get bilingualism when you move to Canada to become a citizen, unfortunately for me. But this does seem to be saying that you're going to have the ability to customize rooms. I'm not getting the yards thing out. But the first thing is, number of rooms is one of the things posting here. So yeah, you will have the ability to customize. But I don't know how far that's going to go. Because once again, as Liz said, this just raises further questions. Yeah, it is. Mm-hmm. Well, but they're going to have 50 lots each for each neighborhood, which is also interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah, neighborhoods are going to be a fixed size. So that will be interesting. And also, you will only be able to have one horde house and one alliance house, I believe.
Yeah.
So you cannot go and make infinite houses, but you can have a couple of houses if you so desire.
They've learned to stymie me.
Well, they're going to have to. They're already letting you place like 10,000 things, right? Like,
oh yeah, absolutely. I'm not saying there
has to be a limit.
There is only so much space, digital space included.
You can only go so far before you start crashing the servers, which is, players are immediately going to try because you've got this space where you can be just completely creative. You can dye your furniture. You can, I assume you'll be able to make a reindeer road inside your house. You can combine elements into new things. There was talk in one of the interviews about someone at the preview was made something where they had, you can get an Onyxia head, but they put it on a spit that turned it like it was being cooked. So by combining different elements in different ways. So this sounds like an absolute playground of creativity. And I think it's great, but there's still so many details we don't know because we didn't see any of this ourselves. All we're getting is creators who are explaining what they saw, and that's it all just makes me want. I want to see more. Okay, when can I see more?
Yeah, when can we actually look at this thing? It is one of those things where you get, the more people tell you about it, the less you actually know about it, but the more you want to. I do very much want to. One of the things they said here is that right now it's going to be sanctuaries, but they are open to the possibility of letting players make fighting arenas in their houses.
Yeah, so like the outside, the outside world is completely safe, but maybe in your house, if you wanted to have a fighting pit, you could decide to do that so you have full control inside your house, but the neighborhood is a safe space, a sanctuary.
Yeah,
Blizzard has also
Oh, go ahead.
Blizzard has also said, this may have been exactly what you were about to say, that there aren't going to be auction houses or banks or things of that nature. They do not want to make the mistake they made with garrisons and put everything you might ever need to do inside a neighborhood so that you always stay in your neighborhood.
Yeah, that's a good move to me. If you want to keep cities working, then yeah.
And neighborhoods are going to be a social space, though. And this is something we have heard about, but again, not heard all the details about. I mean, there are questions about whether we might have community spaces. Can someone run a tavern? Does someone have to make their house into a tavern that is then the community tavern?
Yeah, that seems like what they're going for, I think. Mm-hmm. Which I think makes sense, honestly. Like the whole idea of here's your neighborhood, make of it what you will. Like, that's how it should be, at least in my opinion.
I am so excited to see what our guild does with this, because
it's going to be a horror show.
But it's going to be a great horror show because we spend so much time together in game. You know, we go out, we do dungeons, we do raids, we hang out and chat, but this is a different kind of hanging out in game where you could hang out and be like, hey, come over to my house and look at this cool thing I made.
Also, our peers are going to be over the moon with this, I think.
I'm telling you guys right now.
Absolutely.
What the thing I'm thinking about doing so much is basically what I did in Fallout 4, where I'm going to have armories everywhere in my house. There's going to be weapons on everything I can put them on. I'm going to have like display cases with like, here's my first set of armor ever. That's a bunch of greens. Yes, I got it in Sulfur Rock. Like, you know, just I am gonna go nuts on my first house too. I'm gonna if you can build those giant hallways that like, you know, like 800 yards from end to end, there's gonna be nothing but suits of armor along them. Yeah, absolutely loving this idea. Just oh yes, this will get me into like an almost crazed obsession, and I'm looking forward to my crazed obsession.
See, one of the things I loved about Fallout 4 was housing. You can build your own houses. You can make these spaces yours. You can build crazy things. But it also made me a little bit insane trying to like perfectly line up fences and walls and how everything in Fallout 4 is post-apocalyptic and broken. So it's like you really had to work if you wanted to fix up your house.
Yeah, like you'd have to use the Fallout set, and there were like a few pieces that like kind of looked like concrete.
And you would like have to put better walls on top of the existing walls, so it looked like all of a sudden there was a whole wall there. It's a whole thing trying to make a nice little neighborhood in Fallout 4. But here you can make your dream house. I think that's really what it sounds like. And I am looking forward to this so much. This is house transmog. This is transmog to the next level. I'm
going to have to look for a guild. All right. But that's pretty much covers that little bit, which I think we're all very excited about, but we didn't really find out much.
It covers it, and it also doesn't cover it, and it's also what more is there to say? Because it's vibes. They're good vibes. This sounds great. We still haven't seen a lot, so
Joe might recognize
I'm hopeful.
This one. What was the saying? It's like at some point, like the Mets in the 50s, at some point we're going to actually have to sell some sizzle with this steak.
Yep.
Or something like that. Yeah. But we should talk about Battle for Azeroth Time Walking because it's coming in patch 11.1.7. And we're going to have a bunch of new rewards. There's going to be like a little mini dinosaur, which is just making me die inside. It's Littlefoot from Land Before Time as a WoW pet.
They didn't call it Littlefoot, but I'm calling it Littlefoot. It's a little tiny Brontosaurus.
Yeah, the Brutosaurs and WoW are already cute, despite being gigantic monsters. So I'm super excited to see the baby version as an actual pet. Possibly more excited than I should be.
He's a cute little dinosaur, and he's not like the Brutosaurs are like spiky and kind of intimidating, but he's just small and adorable. So I don't always keep up with the time walking weeks, but you know, I need this guy. He's named Little Dazty, and there's a lot of things, but I'm just interested in having a baby dinosaur.
Yeah, and I cannot blame you. I still want there to be like more dinosaur mounts. Although I did remember someone asked a question about that and was like, how come we don't have much dinosaur mounts? And I'm like, we have 60 of them.
We do have, yeah.
And I didn't even count pterodaxes or whatever. If you count pterodaxes, then it went up to like almost 80. But at the same time, there are no devilsaur mounts.
Mm-hmm.
And that seems wrong to me. Like, you should be able to. There's several devilsaurs that you can get and tame them as pets. They should drop a mount version of themselves. The one that really comes to mind is the one from Siege of Orgrimmar. That everybody Thok was his name. Thok. His name was Thok. You play a hunter, Joe. You know this.
I believe that is correct. It's been a while. Sorry.
Yeah, but Thok should drop a mount that is just Thok. Like, I don't get this. It's like, this is simple. If you can make this thing into a battle-hungry monster that kills things for you, you should be able to ride one into battle. I feel this is necessary. Regardless, anything where another dinosaur comes in any form, I am down for. And this thing is just adorable because it is just adorable. I cannot even with this. Do we have Dragonflight time walking yet?
No. We are just getting up to Battle for Azeroth, so we're, we've run a few expansions.
So we don't have Shadowlands either. That would actually make me happy. I'd like to see Shadowlands. Although some of those dungeons were really hard, but at the same time, I enjoy it. I miss getting to tank those, which is weird. I don't usually miss tanking things, but that's it for Battle for Azeroth time walking. We're gonna mention some Overwatch stuff here. Mostly we're gonna look at Joe a lot, I figure. Talk to me about the Street Fighter collaboration, because I didn't know that existed until just now.
Yeah,
it's brand new. It is brand new.
Street Fighter collab, so please tell me about it.
I mean, it's basically skins, right? They're really good skins. So you're gonna have like things like you're gonna have your Ryu skins. Hanzo's gonna be Ryu. Juno's gonna be Chun-Li. Widowmaker is gonna be Cammy, because of course she is. Kiriko is gonna be Juri. Soldier 76 is gonna be Guile, because of course. Sigma will be M. Bison, of course. Winston as Blanca and Zenyatta as Dalsim. That's really it. Most of the collabs that you see for Overwatch 2, they're skins. They're really good skins. They're really, really cool, but they're skins. So. Okay,
I'm sorry. The Wilson as Blanca one is terrifying. Like, my God,
it doesn't look. It does not look like Blanca, as far as I'm concerned. It is the worst of the skins, in my opinion.
The Widowmaker Cammy is pretty spot on.
Jury is really, really good too. It's basically just Jury.
Yeah, and so for that matter, the Hanzo is Ryu. He's beardy Ryu even.
Yeah.
So he's later Ryu, and he really works.
Well, that's because it's Street Fighter 6, right? So Street Fighter 6 is the latest one. And these are all skins or based off of Street Fighter 6. So like Ryu, when you go and train with him in Street Fighter 6, he's the old grizzled veteran with the beard. So
yeah. Soldier 76's Guile is fine, but I do think you're right about the Winston one. Like, I don't know what you guys were doing. Also, wow, wasn't expecting an M. Bison skin. That's kind of nuts. But
it works because again, his character already had that frame for it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. He does much of the same stuff. So yeah, but I on the one hand, I get why you're saying it's just skins, because it is just skins. I mean, let's not try to lie here. Let's not pretend we're getting anything other than skins. It's certainly not going to give us a one-on-one fighting mode. And I'm looking at you now, Blizzard. Think about giving it a one-on-one fighting mode, Blizzard. Come on. You know how popular this would be. My God. If Blizzard did that, a 1v1 fighting game. I'm getting a little dizzy here. But regardless, yeah. I'm super excited about it. I think it looks cool. But at the same time, I totally get you right.
I'm not trying to downplay it either. But go ahead, Liz. Sorry.
It's the same thing we're seeing in Diablo 4 with collabs. It's, we've got our current collab, and it's like, it's a bunch of skins you can buy and a few things you can earn on a battle pass.
I gotta be honest. Since you mentioned that, I have to be honest here. I did get some of the collab for the most recent one, and I don't regret it. But at the same time, every time I realize that I have spent the amount of money I spent to get the skin for armor I'm never going to wear. Like, I'll use that sword. I will use that sword all the time. But I'm never going to wear any of that armor. Because it looks simultaneously pretty accurate to the anime, and yet not at all right for Diablo. Like, Joe, have you seen the skin?
I have, yeah.
Like the armor skin? Do you concur with me that it looks kind of like, it looks anime accurate, but also wrong?
It's very, very good, but it doesn't feel Diablo.
And that nose thing.
Like, nope, we're not talking about that. We're done. Nope, we're moving on.
Let's talk about the mid-season patch. Yeah. Go ahead, Liz.
For reference to people who are listening, we are talking about Diablo 4's Berserk collab, which is ongoing and is a little weird.
Yeah, it's nothing that's bad, but it's...
We're moving on. We're moving on.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that thing. Mid-season patch with stadium balance changes and a new rotation into Overwatch Classic. What's that?
The Overwatch...
What's going on with Overwatch Classic now?
The Overwatch Classic thing, I was reading this headline, I was like, what? Because it's Overwatch Classic, October 2020. And I read that. It took me a while. Which is just a version of Overwatch that uses the October 2020 patch. So it sort of rolls things back to that balance. It's a 6v6 game mode. And they have been... Overwatch Classic is kind of a thing and kind of not a thing, if that makes sense. It's like we look at World of Warcraft and you have World of Warcraft Classic, which is a totally different game mode and is ongoing. You can always log on to WoW Classic, and you can log on to many variations of WoW Classic. It is infinite. But Overwatch Classic is just, it's a single mode and it sort of rotates. It's kind of like, maybe you could tell me, Joe, like an arcade mode that just... It shows up and then it goes. So they have been rotating in and out different versions of Overwatch Classic.
Yeah, it feels like a tease. Like, I think a lot of people would probably come back and play the game if that was a more permanent thing, because a lot of people miss that version of it. And it seems to be wildly popular when it's available, but it's... I don't know. I don't want to sound like I'm talking bad about the game, but it's a criticism that I think is levied against it. Overwatch 2 fell short of what it promised and lost a lot of its charm that Overwatch 1 had. And so now with them bringing back stuff like essentially Overwatch 1 inside of Overwatch 2, I think they fear that if they were to make it a more permanent thing, that the regular version of Overwatch 2 would just never get played.
And, of course, the regular version is the one with the Battle Pass, which is... Battle Pass and skin sales are kind of their only monetization.
Yeah.
So I still think they should just, take the World of Warcraft approach and have your Overwatch Classic as just an ongoing game mode. And if you need to figure out some monetization to support that, I understand. Games require a lot of resources. They require development time. They require all of this stuff. But... I'd figure out how to make that work and have an Overwatch Classic all the time. And maybe you can do it like WoW has been doing, where you maybe have you could have different patches and different segments of the game available at different times. Here's a timestamp here. Here's a timestamp here. You can play your different flavors of Overwatch. So, I think just keep it around. People enjoy playing it. Keep it around.
I mean, right now it essentially feels an awful lot like Plunderstorm does.
Yeah. So. Something that comes and goes.
Yeah. But we should watch it briefly. We got just enough news here on Diablo 4 to tell you about it, and then not much else.
Yeah.
But we're going to tell you about it because it's happening this week. Diablo 4 is going to get a campfire chat this week. Do we know what day? Like, is it going to be Thursday?
It is on Thursday, but most people do not listen to the podcast until Friday.
You probably won't even hear us.
That statistic is significant.
Yeah, you probably will already know all about it by the time you hear this podcast telling you it's going to be happening. We will be talking about it next week, but we're going to tell you now that it's happening. Just for the few people who are listening to us live or streaming, or who will get the podcast early, so you guys know. Plus, I'm curious what they're going to do.
If you are hyped about Diablo 4, I don't know percentage of the audience that may be, because that could just be an echo of my own tiredness with the Battle Pass grind. But we will have some news next week about the next patch.
Yeah, at least we'll know what 2.3.0, the PTR, like when is it going to come? What are we going to do? But we'll find out, hopefully.
I actually have a question for both of you, kind of related to this Diablo patch. When game companies announce patches, but I feel particularly this way about Diablo, they'll announce the next patch, and maybe it's not coming out for a while, and I'll be like, oh, this just completely takes the winds out of my sails, and now I just want to play the new thing. I don't want to play this thing. And World of Warcraft has gotten very, I want to say aggressive, but that's not quite the right word. Very serious about keeping up a significant patch cadence and, always having something on the horizon. And as soon as one patch rolls out, we're looking at the PTR for the next patch. Do either of you find that does knowing about the next patch such significant details about the next patch, does it diminish your enthusiasm for a game right now?
No, not really.
Depends on the game.
Yeah, I guess yeah, probably, but like it doesn't really affect my desire to play the game. I may look forward to something in the future, but I'm also a person that outside of this podcast, I generally don't care about patch notes, right? Like I report on it. I don't generally dwell on it like I used to. Like I used to be really about it. And now it's just like, I'm just having fun. Like I log in, I play the game. When I have new stuff to do, I log in, I enjoy it or I don't, and I move on with my life. So it doesn't really affect my enjoyment of the game as much, at least in terms of like World of Warcraft. Diablo, on the other hand, I just don't care. Like it sounds weird to say it like that. Like I love Diablo and I like Diablo 4 as a game, but their patches and content updates aren't substantial enough for me. They don't do what I wanted Diablo to do. They don't make me want to keep playing the game. And I've talked about this before. The seasonal model just makes me not want to play seasons. I'll play when expansions come out. I'll play through the storylines. I'll play through stuff like that because that's the stuff I enjoy. But I don't really care about any of the other patch stuff, so it doesn't really affect my enjoyment of the game. And there's nothing that really like makes me excited or makes me fatigued because I'm already fatigued from that game. And then Matt, I'll let you answer.
Oh, the thing is, I like playing both D3 and D4 just as themselves. So I still play my Eternal characters in D4. So for me, knowing what's coming doesn't do anything to me there. I will be happy to get it when it comes, but I'm not, because I will play seasonal characters, but they're not my focus. And I don't feel that one of the things, I'll be up front, the thing that really bugs me is that I can't take my character and set them back to level 1 and do the season. Yeah. Like I used to do that all the time in Diablo 3. Like I had one character that was just my season guy and well, girl. It was a lady barbarian because why would you play the dude? But I would play her through it over and over again. Every time the season rolled around, the new season, level 1 again. And it didn't bother me because partially because adventure mode was there. So I didn't ever have to feel like, oh, I have to go do the same stuff again. I have to start over. I've lost, all the stuff I was doing. I don't care about character power being lost. That doesn't bother me. I don't like feeling like the story is gone. But with Diablo 3, you could go redo the story whenever you wanted to anyway. So it didn't matter. I feel like that's something that the seasons in Diablo 4 have failed to do, and that's why I don't like them as much. But I still like Diablo 4 as a game. I still enjoy playing it. Now, for WoW, because WoW is a game where, and I know that you've said this on more than one occasion, Liz, Diablo 4 is a game where I can still just mostly play by myself. WoW requires people. What WoW is selling you isn't really the game, it's the people. It's the chance to make friends with them. It's the chance, like right now, I think one of the reasons that I've disconnected from WoW was because my wife was sick for so long. Like I remember talking to my doctor today about it. He was like, you've been under a lot of stress. I was like, yeah, my wife was sick for so long. I couldn't commit to WoW. Yeah. I'd love to be playing with the friends I made, but I just couldn't commit to it. And so whenever a patch notes come out, they almost serve to like prevent me from listening to that voice in my head telling me, oh, I should get back into the game, because there's always a new catch-up mechanic along the way.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have new things. You can do this, you can do that. It's like, so should I come here and struggle, or should I wait till the new reset where I'll be able to get there much faster and the gear will be better? Like, it almost stops me from coming back to play WoW more. I still have characters I play it, but I almost always level alts nowadays. Like, I'll spend a few hours playing I'll be up front. It's a warrior. Come on. But I'll play like a warrior alt for a few levels on a server where nobody knows me, and I'll just solo my way through it. And yeah, I think that is a case of the patch notes make me be like, okay, I really shouldn't get too involved almost until the last patch. Like I've done that on like the past couple of expansions now, where I ride it to the last patch and then I come back and play the last patch because nothing else is coming for a while. Whereas, so yeah, I think that in WoW I do get that way, which is weird, but also understandable when Joe and I are completely different about this, but that's not surprising when you know Joe and I. We approach a lot of things the same, but we also approach a lot of things differently. In terms of the story of the seasons in Diablo, I do think that they have not done what I wanted either, and I definitely think that that's a problem. But yeah, in general, to a certain degree, knowing too much about what's coming isn't great. Like, almost knowing, well, this is going to happen, you're like, oh, that's cool. But if you know everything about it, then you're like, yeah, whatever. I don't know. I do feel it depends on the game for me.
Yeah, like I don't mind it in World of Warcraft, but in Diablo, I usually feel like one of these announcements, I'm kind of like, okay, maybe I'll play less until the patch comes out. And I haven't been playing a lot of Diablo 4 lately anyway, because I've been playing since launch. I've been playing in every season and, getting up to max level and collecting my Paragon points and gearing up and then doing it all over again. And I'm kind of tired.
Yeah,
And
it is a lot of grinding.
It's a lot of grinding, and seasons, as you were just saying, seasons don't offer a whole lot that's new. They don't offer as much as I was hoping they would when Blizzard was selling the game to us.
Yeah, I would agree. All right. So we that's crossed out, so we'll talk about that next time. We got a couple of things that are not Blizzard related, but I wanted to talk about them. The first one is that the Warhammer Skulls event is going to be on May 22nd, I think. I'm positive it's May 22nd. But I then realized Joe is here and he knows more about it than me, so he can almost certainly tell me I'm wrong.
No, you're correct.
And one of the things, of the many things coming on the Skulls event, Owlcat Games put out Rogue Trader, which was their CRPG. Go ahead.
Let's back it up. What is the Warhammer Skulls event? Which is it's the festival of video games based around the Warhammer IPs. So
yeah,
make sure that's clear before we go further. Now go ahead. Yeah,
it's basically like a big, hey, look at this stuff. And we don't know what they're going to be showing because that's why you have an event to show us these things. Games Workshop has always been pretty smart about avoiding what I think we can all agree is we're going to tell you about a preview we're going to do later. That's not really Games Workshop style. When they do an announcement, it's an announcement of a thing. It's not an announcement of an announcement. They're not saying they've never done it. I'm just saying they're more circumspect in that way.
But we do know. Sorry, go ahead.
You go first, man. I'll talk about the thing later.
We know what at least some of it is going to be centered around. At least some of the games and IPs. So like, there's going to be something related to Total War Warhammer 3. Something related to Space Marine 2. People are speculating that it'll be likely an expansion. Warhammer Battle Sector, Warhammer Titanicus, which I believe is one of their mobile games. Blood Bowl 3, which is a very strange game, which I don't know that we have time to talk about, but I have a love-hate relationship with it. The Warp Forge, the card game, Dark Tide, and Rogue Trader are all items that fall under this. And
Rogue Trader, we know for sure, is already announced an expansion before now.
Yes.
And that's what makes this interesting because I don't know if they've done this to other people. I think they have actually done this to several people, but one of the people I like to watch is a guy calls his channel Mortismal Gaming. And he got from Owlcat this weird little wooden device that you can basically unlock by solving like word puzzles with it. and it reveals a document that he described it as somewhat threatening.
Yeah.
It wasn't intended to be threatening. It's intended to sound like how people talk in Warhammer 40K.
In the Imperium
which is threatening. Yeah, well, that's how the whole thing sounds. But it talks about the I want to say the Night Guard, but I can't remember if that's what they're called.
Believe that's
I was
correct.
so excited about. Yeah, it talks about the Night Guard, and there's some speculation that could be another expansion. They haven't even put out the new expansion yet, but they could be announcing another expansion because this wasn't Games Workshop who sent this out. This was Owlcat. So it's got to be something for the Skulls event.
Yeah, and I will say that even though it is from Owlcat, they definitely have Games Workshop's blessing on it. One thing that...
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm just saying that it's not specific. It's not a different game from a different company. It's from Owlcat because Owlcat's the one who sent it out.
The one thing I would like to note is I find this amusing when they do this with the Skulls event because they do this with their other releases. They don't do like, oh, we're going to announce an announcement like you just said, but they will do teasers. And the way that they do teasers is they do very cryptic messaging, or what they call the rumor engine, where they'll put a very, like, if they're releasing a new model, let's say, they'll release a very specific zoomed in section of one tiny piece of the model. And in some cases, people have gotten it absolutely correct. Like when Fulgrim released, there was one of those things where like people saw it and like, oh, that's Fulgrim. But they do that with their games as well. When they were doing Bolt Gun, which is the boomer shooter, which is absolutely phenomenal, and I believe it's still on. Game Pass. If it is,
They just put a new game on Game Pass. In fact.
But you should absolutely play it. But when they were teasing it, they released like this low poly version of like the zoomed in section of a chainsword. And the next thing you know, Bolt Gun was announced. Or, you know, they had a weird like orc fighter jet game, and they released like a image that was like a zoomed in portion of an orc fight-a-bomber. Like they do stuff like that get you interested without like, oh, we're going to do an event about doing an event about doing an event. So... And they do that here, and I'm really excited to see what's coming out because, again, we have ideas, but I want to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. If it is, one of the speculations has been out there that it's a completely different game that's about the Night Guard. Another speculation is going to be an expansion about the Night Guard. And I do have to mention Vermintide 2, because that's not a 40K game. That's just straight up Warhammer.
Yeah,
that's also coming. That's also on Game Pass right now. There is some speculation that Owlcat is being handed like some of the reins to Vermintide in terms of doing a related game, not doing Vermintide itself, but doing a game set in Warhammer itself.
Yeah, and to be clear, Vermintide is like your Left 4 Dead style game, just done with the skin of Warhammer Fantasy on top of it. So. And then I believe it was Fat Shark made the Darktide.
Yes, that's correct.
And so and
Darktide 2 is out now, I think.
Yes. So I'm interested to see what happens. And if Owlcat gets their hands on it, I'd love to see what they do with the fantasy setting.
But I do want to move on to one last thing before we're getting close to the end of the show. And this is something I really wanted to talk about because Doom the Dark Ages came out last week. And there's been a lot of talk back and forth about the thing. It hit 3 million players in a week, so I'm not one of the people who says that this game is drowning. People have been like, it's drowning. It doesn't have a lot of Steam hits. It's like, it doesn't have Steam hits because it's on Game Pass.
Yeah, people are playing it on Game Pass because of a day one release.
Yeah, that's where the players are. I played it for 20 hours straight. And I played the first 2 sections over and over again, religiously, like a maniac, just trying to learn the rhythm and the pattern of this game. I really like Doom the Dark Ages, guys. I like it more than I liked Eternal.
Yeah, it's more OG Doom. Like,
yeah, and go ahead.
No, I was gonna say one of the things, like, Doom Eternal was a very good game, and very well optimized, but a lot of people commented on it was just too fast for them. Like, there's a lot of twitch like movements and quick time events and stuff like that you have to do to really like feel optimized in that game. Whereas Doom 2016, when they re-released Doom, didn't really have that, and this is actually closer to like OG Doom, where it's a little more about being an unstoppable juggernaut of destructive force. Like, yes, you can be fast, and there are things that you can do that are really, really cool and quick, but a lot of times it's like you are inevitable, and you feel like you are inevitable in this game, and it feels really good.
There was a slider in this game that lets you decide how much damage you do to demons.
Yes.
And I have played it at normal, and I have played it at 1,000%. And I have to say, 1,000% feels like Christmas if Christmas involved a lot of demons getting their heads torn off. I don't want to spoil the game in any way. I want you to get to see it. The stuff I've seen already, amazing.
The one thing I will say is that without spoiling anything, it is a prequel. It is essentially the first hit of the Doom timeline. So if you've ever been curious how the Doom games fall into line, or as far as what started with the original Doom Slayer and how that all played out, this is where it begins.
Yeah, technically speaking, what's really fascinating about this game is the first in the new trilogy in terms of its chronological order, but it is after the events of all the original Doom games up to Doom 3, which it's like, so, and it canonically establishes, and this is not a spoiler because it comes up in the first 3 seconds, and they've already said this multiple times, but they have never had a game come forth and just say it. They've just been saying it to us. This character is the character from the original games.
Who also is a descendant of Blazkowicz from Wolfenstein.
Yep, and they've actually said that too.
Yep, he is of that bloodline.
So yeah, it is the gameplay of it is the thing I really want to talk about, though, because Doom has always been mostly a shooter. And I played this and thought to myself, I am shooting things, but this is not a shooter. This is a thing where you shoot things unless they're in range, and then you smash them with something.
Usually your shield.
Usually your shield. But sometimes spike thing.
Sometimes it's a fist. Sometimes it's your boot.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's this thing you ripped off of some other demon.
Yeah, the power fist is one of the best things in the game. You get this gauntlet. It's just like a glove with big spikes on it, and it is brilliant. This is a game
which is a callback to the original game where you got brass knuckles when you literally you ran out of ammo and your character just puts the gun away slowly and then pulls out a pair of brass knuckles and just goes punching demons. There's
kind of almost naivete is not the right word, but an innocence to Doom the Dark Ages, which is fascinating to say about a game where you're literally annihilating demons everywhere you go. But there's an almost chortling glee in, like, the cutscenes are all about how great you are, how terrifying you are, how I can't believe that the thing I'm seeing is a thing you are doing. And it really does make that scene in the 2016 Doom where you get out of the sarcophagus at the very beginning of the game and you find a shotgun and you rack it just as the music stops. Now you get why that was such a moment. Like, in a real way, it does a really nice job of smoothing over the disconnect between Doom and Doom Eternal. Like, you get why the character was the way he was then and how he changes. It's really nice. And I have to say, I think they're right. I've seen 3 op-eds on this. I do want to ask Joe about it. I think getting rid of multiplayer is the way to go for this game.
Yes. I think I went on a tirade about this last week. Single player games, there is a palette, like, people want it. There's a market for it. And again, Doom is best as a single player game, in my opinion. Don't get me wrong, death matches are fun, but there are so many games that you can go and be in a shooter with your friends. I'd rather have a good single player shooter game or first person game, and taking away that section of it lets them focus on making just a very good Doom game. And I'm very happy for it.
This is the game that Godfall wanted to be.
Yeah, 100%.
It's the game that, everyone thought we were getting with that game. And I cannot. I don't want to, like, sit here and just gush constantly, because then I feel like I'm not being hard enough on it. But I don't have the ability to be hard on it.
It's not a perfect game. There are things that it released. There are still some bugs. They even note the first thing you get is, hey, this is the version 1.0 or whatever version it is when it releases. If you experience bugs, please report them. Let us know. And we'll and to their credit, it's id that's doing this. It's id is owned by Bethesda. Bethesda is owned by Microsoft, but id is the one making this game. And id, I will give them a ton of credit. And not just to talk about the gameplay, but to talk about like resources for it. Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal will run on a potato. You could literally load them up on like your smart refrigerator if you want to and play those games. And they will run.
You're not kidding.
And they will run at a good FPS. Doom, the Dark Ages, requires a little bit more than those other games have in the past, but it is one of the smoothest experiences I have seen from a day one launch game in terms of hardware. And I bring this up because there is a direct comparison of another game I love that almost killed my computer, and I'm pretty sure killed one of our guildies' computers. Dragon Age Veilguard, when it released.
Oh, yeah. It did have problems.
A lot of people who had like AMD chipsets, or Intel, I think it was 14th gen, the one before Core Ultra, their CPUs were cooking themselves because the game was so horribly optimized, needed probably another month of just like, we need to figure this out. But like, I noticed almost immediately, like, oh no, I can see my temperatures going. I can hear my fan going. I can hear my AIO percolating. I'm uninstalling this. We're switching over to the PlayStation. This game,
yeah, it was much better on consoles because consoles they were
optimizing. Yes, they absolutely do. This Dark Ages, whisper silent, flawless. Like I have not, like, these games are so, even when they're not optimized, runs so well. I don't know how you do it, but boy, is it so great to see. And
yeah, I don't want to like. We're actually running out of time and we need to get some other stuff talked about. But I will say this about this game. It runs just about as well on my old PC as it does on my Xbox. And the fact that it's a day one Game Pass release for both means that I can play it on both. It's just good. It's a good game. It isn't going to change your life, but
it's a perfect example of everything we talked about last week. It's a single player game that knows its audience, that is well optimized, and was given the time to build it, like be built properly before release. And again, I'm not going to say it's perfect. There are bugs that people have reported, but not in the way that we've.
Like, I couldn't get my first doll out of like the secret purple gate because the gate key wouldn't interact. It was really sad.
But then they immediately patched that, like, I think the next day.
They patched it.
Like that, right?
They released patches every day.
Yeah,
they've been working on this thing.
But I like in a world where we often talk about how buggy releases are and how awful releases are, it's really nice to see a game release that was given enough time in the Easy Bake Oven to at least have a good like presentation. And I'm saying this as I'm sitting here with my custom-made amiibo that is Isabella from Animal Crossing, but in the Doom armor with the Doom shotgun.
Oh, sorry, that was the best part. The
whose
Doom
base
Eternal
says rip and tear until it's done.
I loved that release. I loved their, you guys, I don't know if you guys remember this, but they actually had the Animal Crossing and Bethesda/id channel, Twitter channels at the time it was there. They each had their own Twitter accounts. They were both like basically just sending each other pictures of Isabella as the Doom guy, like moving into Animal Crossing and giving Tom Nook vicious looks. That was great. I loved that. So we should, however, now move to the part where we turn to Liz, and Liz does the site news because it's important.
Hello! I want to thank you all for listening, and particularly to thank our Patreon supporters. If you support us on Patreon, you are helping to make these podcasts possible, and you help the website continue to thrive and grow. Things we like. I want to thank a couple of new supporters this week. Wow, I messed that up. Ickity Ackity Oop at $3. That's a great name. I'm sorry I couldn't say it properly. I may still not be saying it properly, but I think I'm close. And Christopher at $5. Thank you both so much. If you listening out there would like to support us, you can go to patreon.com/BlizzardWatch. At $3 a month, you get early access to all of these podcasts, including our Blizzard Watch podcast pre-show, in which we talk about everything that is not Blizzard games, depending on what we feel like talking about any week. So if you're interested in that, patreon.com/BlizzardWatch, $3 and up. And if you support us at $5, you will also get ads-free access to the site, which is pretty great. I mean, ads support the site, but I know ads are also annoying. So if you support us on Patreon, you can get podcast ad-free and the site ad-free. So if you're able to, please go do that. And if you aren't able, I understand. Listening to these podcasts helps. Liking, sharing, and subscribing helps. If you want to follow us on social media, you can do that. We are on Instagram, Threads, Twitter, and Facebook as Blizzard Watch. And we are on Mastodon as Blizzard Watch at gamepad.club. We are blizzardwatch.com on Bluesky and Blizzard Watch Podcasts on YouTube. Follow us for the latest news, clips of our podcast, and so on and so forth. So, and if you want to help Blizzard Watch Podcast in particular, you can fill out our podcast survey, which is at bit.ly/Blizzard Watch Podcast, all one word, -survey. So if you have time, that'll also be linked in the podcast description below. So if you have time and interest, you can help us out by filling out our survey. Thank you all so much for listening and being here for us. Y'all make this possible.
Yes. Thank you very much, Liz. We're going to try to do one question because it's a fun question and we might as well. This one's from Azur Loon. And the question is basically, wrestling fans get ready to rumble. Courtesy of I didn't say the TM. I'm sorry. There was a TM in there. Courtesy of magical, mystical, timey-wimey goodness, a special event is coming to a stadium near you. 2 teams have been assembled, heroes versus villain. Each side from each plane of existence in the great cosmology has chosen their champions for each team. What is the lineup and how does this match go? Over-the-top shenanigans, clever and corny catchphrases and insults, team members squabbling, and petty personality conflicts are highly encouraged. I think this is one of those ones where to try and really answer it, we'd be here for a year. But I am going to say that I think we should probably each pick one character that we like to see in this kind of thing so that we at least get something. I would like to at least do that. So I'm going to turn first to Joe because I know Joe has a flair for this sort of thing. If you're going to have a champion show up on a team here, who would it be?
That is so hard.
Okay, I'm forcing Joe to choose between his children.
But I mean, I guess here's the question, right? What, we're only dealing with Warcraft here, or can I go outside of Warcraft?
I'm gonna say, you know what? Just assume this is like how Heroes of the Storm comes back, and just any Blizzard property.
Reinhardt, because I want him to sit on the top of a turnbuckle, go catchphrase, because I love Reinhardt. Also because Darren DePaul is amazing, and I would love to hear him cut a promo as Reinhardt in a wrestling thing. That is always going to be my pick for it.
Alrighty. Liz, do you have anybody here?
Gosh, I mean, the thing is, you could take anyone from Warcraft or StarCraft and throw them into this. I think Kerrigan or Nova from StarCraft both be, amazing. They're good characters in something like this because they're both, Kerrigan particularly, kind of over the top, and they both sort of play to their specific roles. I don't have a flair for catchphrases, but I think, I think they could go for this. I'm sorry, Reinhardt.
I'm just looking forward to Kerrigan, killing to kill Mensk again, this time in a promo. But for myself, I think there were 2 characters I was probably going to use, and I ultimately decided to go with the one who I think would make the best heel, and that's Garrosh Hellscream.
Yeah.
Garrosh Hellscream is made to be like the villain in an AEW, or, you know what I'm saying? He doesn't he doesn't quite go to the World Wrestling.
No, he's WCW. This is WCW all the way. 100% WCW.
Garrosh, because Garrosh is going to come out there and he is just going to dismantle you, and he'll be quiet at first.
He's Goldberg.
Yeah. Yes, he's Goldberg.
He's absolutely Goldberg.
The other person I was thinking about was Anduin Lothar, but Lothar doesn't. I don't think he'd demean himself to it. I don't see him having fun with it the way Garrosh would. Garrosh would enjoy it. Garrosh would dismantle you in a promo before he even saw you. He wouldn't even know who you were, and he'd just start making fun of you. So yeah, Garrosh Hellscream, that's mine.
I also want to point out real quick that this kind of already exists, and I don't want them to get in trouble for it, so I'm not going to be overly specific about what they have. But there is a miniature game based around wrestling called Rumble Slam, and I highly encourage people to go look at their legally distinct models.
I like that phrasing. That is good. All right. There's also a really cool wrestling tabletop RPG that at some point we might talk about. There's been a few of them. There's one right now that's actually pretty good. But for right now, I guess we're done. This is going to be it. This has been the Blizzard Watch podcast. Thank you to Liz for doing the site news and also for coming up with a really good suggestion there. I think the Kerrigan Nova suggestions are really good. They could do a tag team. That'd be amazing.
Oh, yeah. You
and
kind
also
of got sort of the dark and light elements there.
Yep.
The dark and light sides of StarCraft.
Yep.
Yeah, you could play up that story.
And thank you to Joe again, not just for doing that Reinhardt impression, but for all you do for this podcast. But a lot for that Reinhardt. That was a good Reinhardt impression.
It's the one thing I can do.
Very solid. Uh-huh.
And thank you to all of you for being here with us, for your suggestions, for your support, for everything you guys do, for listening to us talk about Doom and understanding that we could have talked about Doom for a lot longer and that we stopped ourselves out of love for you. This has been the Blizzard Watch podcast. Thank you guys so much, and we'll be back next week.